Welcome to this Eurogas Tech Talk, where we look at the technologies that can help decarbonise energy systems while creating jobs in Europe. My name is Philippa Nuttall-Jones, Editor-in-Chief of Energy Monitor, and today I have the pleasure of speaking to Dr. Renato Winkler, who is Director of Business Development at Picarro. Hi Renato, thank you for being with us today. Renato, could you explain to us the relevance of your technology to EU decarbonisation efforts?
Well, in the EU decarbonisation strategy, it is, I think, understood that the natural gas industry has a role to play in the transition. In order to do that, and in order to do that efficiently, it is also understood that we need to mitigate and reduce methane emissions across the entire natural gas value chain. And in Europe, as we have such a large natural gas distribution network of several hundred thousands of kilometers, it is important that we do something about methane emissions from the distribution network. And that's where our technology can really bring a technological breakthrough, because for the first time, it is possible to not only quantify emissions, but we can identify the geographic location of large emitters by simply driving by and allow the utility for a rather cost-efficient way to do something about methane emissions from their network.
And can you explain exactly how the technology works? How does it detect the methane emissions so it's much more efficient?
By working for many years and collecting data with our partners, which are large utility companies across the world, we have managed to develop data analytics algorithms in order to quantify emissions basically by simply driving by, which is a real technological breakthrough, because it allows to very quickly scan an area and identify the largest emitter in a given network, which then can be prioritized for repair, or that data can be used in what we call an asset management program, can be used to determine where capital investments should take place and where pipeline should be replaced, for example.
And so in comparison to previous methane detection technologies, how much more accurate is your technology?
So our technology is much more sensitive than comparing traditional technology. So traditional technology needed to be very close to the actual leak location, or even being on top of the pipeline, which is a difficult thing to do with a car, for example, because there might be obstacles, etc. So with our technology, we factor in wind and other atmospheric conditions, which allows us to detect leaks which are much, much further away from the measurement point. And it allows us also to express the covered area that has been surveyed by our Picarro advanced leak detection technology.
In terms of industry, perhaps you could explain a little bit more what industry is also doing to get a grip a bit more on methane emissions.
We are mainly focusing on the distribution part of the natural gas industry. And there we were able to show that only a small part of the actual natural gas leaks are what we call super emitter. It's not compared to a super emitter on the production side, but it's a leak that is overproportionally contributing to the methane emissions. And what we could show is that about 5%, a small fraction of the entire leak population, represents like 50% of the entire methane emissions from that infrastructure. So the realization of that fact helps the industry to develop tools, cost-efficient tools actually, to really do something about greenhouse gas emissions, and especially methane emissions. That is really new, and of course it's something that the industry has not been able to do before, because that technology simply didn't exist.
And what stage of development is the technology?
About 11 years ago, we started to use this technology in the US for natural gas leak detection. And since then, we have been deploying the technology across the globe.
And so the main benefit then in terms of the gas industry is to give them a clearer role within the energy transition and a better return on investment, presumably?
The energy transition, for sure, especially in Europe, is a very important part, because we all know about the new legislation that will come from the European Commission, etc. But it's going much further than that. We are really a game changer for the natural gas industry in the way they look at their infrastructure. Traditionally, it was more like that they had different departments that were looking at different parts of the infrastructure and taking decisions. Now, we have an approach that basically is we first collect data. We just simply collect data on the network. We analyze these data with our algorithms, and then we define together with the utility different use cases. So, for example, the finance team will have a better view, data evidence to make decisions about capital investments. On the other hand, operations will have a much larger data set compared to what they had previously, and a much more robust data set about the health status, the safety status, and the emission status, for example, on their network.
Today I was speaking to Renato Winkler from Picarro about the technologies they're developing to reduce methane leaks. If you want to listen to more Eurogas Tech Talks, please go to Eurogas's website at eurogas.org.